Hi everybody, Jen here, just coming on to share with you just an interesting little thing that happened yesterday to me. And just to let people more or less realize what's actually going on. It's more of a thought that I had, a passing thought that I figured was relevant to a lot of what we're seeing today in the world and different things. And of course I decided to be pink, and if y'all know me, I don't ever really do pink. So I figured today of all days we all need more love and compassion. So I decided to put a pink shirt on and pink sweatshirt on. And I haven't even actually gotten this stuff out of my closet in like more than a year. And I got my red pants and my red socks. Yes, and yes, they are fuzzy Christmas socks because it was cold here. But it's going to be warming up, so I won't have to wear them for very much longer. But my point is, this funny situation. Hold on a minute. I don't think Meals on Wheels are here yet. No, okay. I have to watch. Today's kind of been a little bit off. Arlene, the lady that bathes Gramp, came a little early today, so everything's kind of been like, okay, what's going on? And then the dog's like, woo. And Gramp's a little off himself. A little bit disoriented and stuff like that. He was disoriented yesterday and he had a little accident in his pants and I had to clean it up. But basically, he's doing okay now. He's watching TV. And I gave him all his stuff and he's settled right now until lunch comes, so. But anyways, so as you know, we get Meals on Wheels for my grandfather. And the funny thing is, on Mondays, I'm not here, I'm at work. So our aide, Pearl, comes over. Now, she's a family friend. We've known her for years. She used to babysit us as kids. And so she's, like a little bit older than us. I'd say about, like, maybe 30 years. She's about 60, I'm 36. So it's kind of like that. But the funny thing was, the Meals on Wheels people that bring Monday the stuff over for Monday, they also decided to volunteer for raking leaves for us, or for anybody who's on the Meals on Wheels roster. And so they decided they would, Pearl put us on the list for them to come and do our leaves and stuff, because she figured, like, because she's got her own, she's gone through some of those classes and stuff where they train you back in the day, you know, to become more independent and things like that, especially when you have, like, people on the spectrum and things like that. So she's like, yeah, it's a good opportunity. So when I came home Monday night, she's like, oh, these people will be contacting you. And I'm like, okay, sure, no problem. I mean, that's cool. Gives them something to do, helps them learn, you know, how to do yard work, little things, gets them, you know, up and going and being okay with having to do stuff like that, and gives them, like, real world, you know, experience. So my point is, basically, it was like a family, I think, with people on the spectrum, like 3 kids on the spectrum, or at least just teens or something. I don't know. I didn't see them very much. But they came and said that. And so Pearl said that they would come. So I was like, no, nobody's coming, whatever. So on Tuesday, yesterday, they ended up coming. No, it was Saturday. My bad. It was Saturday. Saturday is right. I'm losing my days. Woo! It was Saturday. So Friday she had told me, and then they came Saturday. And the husband, they came in a truck, and then the wife came out, and the husband came out, and then there were like 3 kids. Not sure if the kids were theirs or if they were just a carpool thing. But basically the husband came up onto the stairs to answer the door and said, hey, you know, and introduced himself and stuff, and said, did you know that? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, and this is what was making me laugh. He goes, oh, your mother came and said that we were on the list. So I didn't know if your mother told you. And I'm like, I just like went with it because I was like, yeah, okay, sure. So I was like, yeah, sure. And then I was dealing with Gramp at the time, so I didn't really have a lot to talk about. So I'm just like, oh yeah, I know all about it. So then he's okay. And then the wife comes out and she gets 2 cookies to give to the husband to give to us. And he's like, oh yeah, make sure that your grandfather and your mother get the cookies too, and you can have one too. And they were like homemade cookies. And I was just sitting there laughing. I'm like, oh, Gramp would love this, you know, and it was funny. So then when Pearl came yesterday, I mentioned it to her, and she said the guy that came to the door, which was the same guy that I met, he goes, oh, how was your daughter? You know, we're, you know, and Pearl's like, oh, she's not here right now. And it was just so funny. But basically what it means is that he perceived me to be the daughter of our aide Pearl, and we're not related at all. At all. Like, they were just family friends. So my point is, what you perceive in the outside world might not be anything to what you think it is. So this guy and this family thought that she was my mom and that we were this one dynamic, and you know, that's all they saw on the outside. They just saw an older woman who looked kind of like me, had a little bit kind of different hair, but was tall and thin, and was like 60, and then they saw me on the day that they came, and they assumed that I was the daughter. So, because I look apparently younger and stuff like that. So, I mean, and granted, I was in my pajamas, but when I answered the door, because it was a cold day. But basically, it's just like, that wasn't the actual truth. The truth is, she's not related to us at all. She's a family friend. She comes to help Gramp. You know, we, you know, respect her. We knew the family for a long time and all that stuff. It's just really interesting when what you think is true is not actually true at all. So I just was going with this theme and just basically saying what you think outside is the actual truth, 100% truth, might not actually be truth until you actually dig down and figure out what actually is and ask questions and just do things like that to suss out what is actually truth or what you're assuming is truth. So that's just a really interesting little tidbit that I had here, and I think it resonates with a lot of people, like with what they hear from like family gossip, town gossip, you know, anything that's filtered through the internet, through the media, you know, all this stuff that we at once trusted the sources where we were getting our information and trusted that that was actually indeed fact, when back then it might have been, but now it's been so much manipulated through personal preference, personal experiences, third parties, things like that, that it's not exactly what it's portrayed to be. Kind of like that, if you were a little kid, I don't know if some of you might have been, you played that game called Telephone, when you sit in a large group of friends and you have like 6 to 8 friends in a circle, and then one person starts with one sentence, and then you have one chance to hear it and then say it to somebody else, and then by the end, the time that it gets back to that original person, see if it actually was the exact same sentence that that person originally said, or if it was something completely different. 9 times out of 10, it never gets back to the original person that said it as what the original person said. It's always something completely different, and 9 times out of 10, it's something way, way out of there. Now, granted, half the time it's like kids that just like didn't hear it and didn't want to be embarrassed, so they added something else just to make it silly. But when you're genuinely in that thing and you're really trying to figure out what that is, and you can't necessarily hear it, you interpret it differently depending on what you thought you heard and what actually was said. So that's another like different little thing that I was thinking about. And there's a lot of these things coming up this year, especially this year with all this stuff going on. So I just figured this is actually really interesting. If anybody on here would like to resonate with it, if it resonates with them, if it makes sense to them, or if maybe even if it's helping them think even just a little bit outside of the box and go back and be like, oh, well, I had an experience similar to that. I wonder how that is. Or take that experience and move it forward to what you're going to experience in the coming months to year. Because with what happens tonight, regardless, at least in the United States, who knows what will happen, and everybody's up in arms and everything, and everybody's basically holding their breath. You know, like, they're like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's not really necessarily up to us. It's, and granted, it's whatever happens, okay? So don't be like, oh my gosh, so-and-so that I voted for didn't win, or whatever. Oh my gosh, the world's gonna end, or something, you know? We don't need to necessarily be super dramatic. I understand where that's coming from, but it's also coming from a place of fear, and of a place of like pain, where humans don't really want to feel pain. Well, most of them. I have a couple friends that actually don't mind feeling pain, which is weird. And then I have my grandfather who doesn't actually feel pain now because his nerve ending things have so far gone, because he's like 90, he's 96 now. So yeah. So anyway, so just take everything with a grain of salt until you actually can verify through multiple sources that it is indeed the same thing that's being said. And don't just go with one biased section where all the people are biased in one way, or, you know, the community or the culture or whatever. Think outside the box. Look for like different things. Granted, okay, so here's another case in point. This is a separate one, but I'm going to actually add it onto this anyways. My manager at work yesterday was talking about how he got duped, okay, for for changing his address, because he's moving in with his new wife or whatever, so he had to look for change of address website. So he went on Google, and him and his wife in 2 separate occasions, and they didn't talk to each other, but they were like, oh my gosh, clicked on a link on Google. They searched the thing, typed in, change of address, whatever, and clicked on the first link, put their card in, and then had the service do whatever, and then went about their business. Didn't think anything of it. Come the next couple days, they get charged $80. And he's like, what? It's supposed to be only $1 that's supposed to come out of it, at least, in New York State. And they're like, something's weird with this. He goes back on, finds out it was a third party that did it, and was from like India or someplace. And basically they didn't want to even give him back his money, and then they were fighting with him when he's like, no, you need to refund my money. And said like, oh no, we'll give you 50% back and all this stuff. But basically, he got duped because he thought the first thing you clicked on Google was the truth, was the actual website he needed. When I indeed went in there and showed him that the first 3 things, the icon to the left of the actual word where you click on it to get to the website said AD, like capital A, lowercase d, means an ad, which means it's not the actual website, the trusted website, it's a third party. It's somebody that's being paid to send that information to help another company or something boost their flow of people or whatever you call it, the people that come into the website. So basically, after he scrolled down 4 or 5 different links, there was the actual government one where you can go onto the actual USPS website with the actual eagle icon for the actual post office, and you click on that one, and that one's the one where it was only $1 because it was actually the legit one. Where he didn't realize that the top 3 or 4 or 5 things that are mainly on Google were all just third party. They're all just ads. They're not legit. I mean, they're legit, but they're not actually the one that it is the one that you used to be. When you used to just Google something, it was right there, and you gave it as truth. It was the truth. These ads are also the ones that basically are being put in front of us to mislead us, to make us think something's true. And if you're not able to discern these things or know about them, then this is what happens. You get caught up in all this other drama and stuff because people are so used to just clicking the first thing and being like, I want easy. We gotta slow down. We gotta look at things. We've got to be able to be discerning of what we're clicking on and what we're feeding into, okay? So just if you didn't know, and you're a Google clicker and you just click on the first thing you see because you think it's the truth and you think it's the actual website, word to the wise, don't. Make sure that you see to the left hand, if it says AD, it's an ad, okay? So be aware of that because there's always something coming out where these other companies just want, they're getting paid to be put up as the top 5 websites to click on because that's the most. You can't trust it anymore. There was a little time a couple months back where everything just went down and everything was actually legit. Like it wasn't bought anymore and stuff like that. But now it's back to being the old way where everything's bought and whoever pays for the most comes back up again. So anyway, so that's another thing. It's another thing that goes back into what you think about, you bring about, and the fact that basically if you are not willing to actually look through and take the time to make sure that what you're reading and what you're seeing is actually genuine 100% truth backed by multiple parties that are on both sides of the spectrum, not just one-sided this and one-sided that, then that's actually more than likely more of a legit thing that you can follow. It's kind of like when we used to do papers in college. They always used to say, don't use Google. You have to use another party because, or at least if you want to use that, use one from one side and one from another side that equal the same thing, and see if, say this side that's for this one over here, A, and this one that's for B, equal the same thing. Like they all want to equal a C outcome. Like something about saying like, okay, I view this, but my end result equals this in the middle. And this over here says I view this, but I'm coming to this conclusion in the middle too. And these two people that are completely different on different spectrums of the line come to the same conclusion, then you usually mean that that conclusion is probably more than likely the actual truth versus then what they want to see or what they want to see. So anyways, that's just how I was going about it, and I'm sorry this video went a little bit long, but I added that other story in there for a little more, you know, experience and a little more, something to, like, kind of think about, and mull around in your head a little while you're going about your day and while you're going about the next couple months, depending on what happens tonight. Oh, and this weather. Ooh, my nasal passages are all crazy. But anyways, I'm going to get going. I want to send all of you love, light, and blessings. Remember, stay in your heart center today. Try not to get triggered. If you do get triggered, just step back from it and try not to react viscerally or with your own emotions. Just try to breathe, being like, okay, I feel that feeling, I understand that feeling, but I'm going to let that go. Because it is not about that other person or me proving that other person wrong or doing this or doing that. It's about me owning what is true for me and being able to do my action that I need to do without feeling oppressed by the other person, and in turn doing the same thing for that other person. Don't do, like, put on them what you wouldn't want put on you, okay? So anyways, that's just what I'm out here doing. And I'm going to get out there and vote today too, so after Meals on Wheels comes and all that. So I don't know when, but I'll probably make a day of it a little bit. Do a little couple other stuff since Grant basically sleeps all day now and is up all night. But yeah, so I will get going. Love, light, and blessings, everybody. Stay safe and stay in your heart center. All right? I wish you all well. Love, light, and blessings to all and to the world. All right. Namaste. Catch you on the flip side. Bye.